So the country might be starting to sour on Donald Trump. Why do we say that? Well, there's a recent Washington Post Ipsos poll, and it found the president's approval rating on key issues like the economy and management of the federal government are underwater. The approval of his immigration policy is even more evenly divided. This buyer's remorse, if you will, comes as the newly elected chairman of the Democratic National Committee, Ken Martin, is traveling the country on a listening tour. He's hoping to set the party on the right track ahead of the 2026 midterms. And the chairman of the Democratic National Committee, Mr. Ken Martin, joins us now.
Mr. Chairman, welcome, welcome. Good to see you, man.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Simone. Thank you, Alicia, for having me. It's great to be here.
So we're going to take you a little bit into the chairman's corner over here. We're just having, it's just you and me, just having a little convo about the politics of turning the corner. I thought it was very interesting from Pete Buttigieg in a little bit of sound from the University of Chicago Institute of Politics. Let's take a listen to his assessment of the current state of things.
Something folks have been saying that I think tries to get at this problem, but also completely demonstrates an inability to see what's in front of us. And that's this idea that, well, if only we had a Rogan of the left. That's what we need. We need a Joe Rogan, but for the left. And if we had that, that's the kind of thing that we'd be reaching some of the people we're not reaching. The problem is, Rogan, people aren't listening to Rogan because they view it as being of the right. They don't think of it as political at all. Mm-hmm. They're not looking for politics. They're looking for what protein powder to use and an interesting podcast, and the politics finds them.
And the politics finds them. And I thought that was very insightful. So, Chairman, how do you position the politics in front of the American people so they find it?
Well, exactly what Pete said is right, and that's why I'm on this tour right now, the Organize Everywhere tour. We visited 6 states over the last week here, you know, and I'm in Wisconsin right now, getting ready to go out and door knock for our Supreme Court candidate, Susan Crawford. You know, I've been in red and purple and blue states. I've met with farmers and union members. I've met with activists and federal employees. I've knocked doors in Western Pennsylvania for our candidate who is going to win and help us win back the majority. You know, the reality is we've got to get the DNC out of D.C. To Pete's point, if we want to talk to voters and connect with them, we need to meet them where they're at. And guess what? They're not in traditional news spaces or information spaces. They're throughout the digital world. They're in all of these online spaces that we have to start competing in. And Pete's absolutely right. You know, a lot of these online communities don't talk all the time about politics. They're talking about a whole host of other things. And as a result, our party has ignored them over the past. We've got to change our way of thinking. You know what? I'm a hunter. People ask me all the time, where do you go to hunt? They think I'm going to give them my favorite deer stand or, you know, my favorite hunting spot. No, you go where the deer are. And frankly, that's what we have to do is go where the voters are.
Concept.
You have to go. I mean, here's the thing. You are waging this fight on so many different fronts. Because, yes, there is the voters and connecting with the voters and going on this tour and figuring out where it is that you can communicate with them. At the same time that you have Elon Musk and his millions of dollars playing in the Wisconsin Supreme Court race. Let's pull that up. America PAC spent $1 million on canvassing operations in the state. It's according to a new campaign finance filing that become public on Thursday. Pamphlets distributed to some Wisconsin homes read, President Trump needs you to get out and vote, and included a link to a website where voters could register to vote and learn about how to cast ballots early. So how do you counter those then moneyed efforts?
Well, with people. And that's what we're doing. We're building the volunteer army throughout this country right now so we can win elections up and down the ballot. And you can see the energy just in the last couple of weeks alone, right, with people flooding town halls. Of course, the activism is surging right now with the backlash that's happening around this country as Donald Trump's approval ratings continue to slide, as Americans are starting to wake up and realize that this guy's a fraud. And he's backed by Elon Musk, a billionaire who's already bought the federal government, and he's going to go to whatever ends he needs to buy this Supreme Court race here in Wisconsin. That's why I'm here today, door knocking for Susan Crawford. It's cold and chilly here in Wisconsin, and that's coming from a Minnesotan. But guess what? We're going to be out on the doors knocking today, because that's the way you beat back money. That's the way you beat back these billionaires, but is by showing up, knocking on doors, having conversations with voters throughout this country about what we're seeing in this country right now, which is completely un-American.
So, Mr. Chairman, you're on the listening tour. I think we'd love to know what you have heard from folks as you're talking, going out there, meeting with the American people, some who are Democrats, maybe some who aren't actually Democrats, but are interested in what you have to say. But then also, what are you doing on the infrastructure within the DNC? Have you hired up your staff? Do you have a CEO yet? Take us into the rebuilding of the party apparatus, if you will.
Well, look, it's a third week on the job. We're drinking from the fire hose a little bit, as you can imagine, but we're making a lot of progress on actually putting our senior team together and standing up the post-election review, and, of course, standing up our war room, which is really critical at this point right now, so we can do the job we need to push back in real time against Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and J.D. Vance, while also making sure we're building that infrastructure again, not only at the DNC, but within our state parties, local party committees as well, because we have critical elections staring down at us right now, just in a little over a month here in Wisconsin and in Florida, as I mentioned. So we have to be prepared, and we're already engaged in that work. And look, in terms of what I'm hearing on the ground from folks throughout this country so far is a deep frustration with what they're seeing out of Donald Trump. He promised them on day one he was going to bring down their grocery prices and help them afford their lives. He hasn't delivered on that. He promised farmers throughout the Midwest and throughout this country that he was going to help them when he was running for president. He's now reneging on critical contracts that farmers throughout this nation have with our federal government. He said he was going to keep us safe around the world, and what we saw this week is despicable. I never thought in my lifetime we'd see an American president bow the knee to Vladimir Putin and divide up Europe without our European allies and, of course, Ukraine at the table. So, Donald Trump and Elon Musk are failing the American people, and we're seeing that out there manifested with the energy, the enthusiasm to get in this fight from Democrats right now. Look, our party's not dead. I'm sick and tired of hearing people saying, well, what the hell are Democrats doing? Democrats are fighting, and I see it all over this country. Democrats are fighting right now.
Chairman, you are sitting in a very unique spot, being chairman of the party at a time where you do not have the White House. Let me tell you how much you're going to enjoy that, and at the same and at the same time regret it. I know, and at the same time regret it. You are, and when people ask who's the head of the Democratic Party, it is you. You don't have a titular head and a president. You have your leadership on the legislative side with Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries in the Senate and the House. But you're the one ultimately going to be the taskmaster, coordinating and bringing together narratives that push forward the legislative agenda of the Democratic leadership in the House and Senate, but at the same time informing them of the politics that's going to win or lose elections. I took note, of something you did this week, and that was to go to Texas. Sir, I cannot tell you how smart that is. The report was the drubbing that Texas Democrats took in the 2024 election was bad enough to leave any party stalwart feeling deflated. Yet the newly elected chair of the Democratic National Committee, Ken Martin, made Texas one of the first stops this week on his first swing through the country. And the message he carried was the opposite. Texas, the second largest state, could still be a linchpin for the national party's revival. You will get a lot of people shaking their head and scratching what little bit of hair they have left off their head, thinking, what are you doing? But, sir, I think that is smart. I can share my views on Texas with you a little bit later. But that's the kind of sort of landscaping I think is going to be important in the face of some, both on the legislative side and within the political community, who will look at you and scratch their head and go, what are you doing?
Well, look, again, The reason we're visiting Texas is because that truly is the future of the Democratic Party. And when you look at the trend lines there, it certainly suggests that we're going to win there. Maybe not this election cycle, but certainly in the future. And, you know, forgive me if I use a hockey analogy, but I'm from Minnesota, and I have to. Wayne Gretzky once said, you have to skate to where the puck will be, not where the puck is. And that means as a political party, we can't just play for this upcoming election year or the next election year. We have to play for the future. And 40% of the U.S. population is going to be in the South after the next census. The 5 fastest growing states are Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and Texas in the whole country. And if we don't start laying down a foundation right now to compete in Texas as the whole congressional map starts to change and shift to the South, we're already behind once again as a Democratic Party. So we need to build to win. Of course, this upcoming election cycle, and priority number 1 is making Leader Jeffries, Speaker Jeffries, of course, to stop Trump's unimpeded power. Priority number 2 is to build the infrastructure so it's long-lasting and durable so we can win in places like Texas and throughout the South once again.
All right. Chairman Ken Martin, on the road. We love it. Nice to meet you, Chairman. Thank you very much.
Thank you.